Airports are supposed to be gateways to adventure, business trips, and reunions with loved ones. But for many travelers, they can quickly turn into stressful obstacle courses where the smallest mistake or the most innocent item in your luggage can land you in trouble. Imagine walking confidently through security, only to suddenly be pulled aside, questioned, and detained over something you never even considered dangerous. It sounds exaggerated, but it happens every single day, and the truth is that airport security is designed to be unforgiving because its main goal is to eliminate risk before it even has the chance to exist. And that means items you think are harmless, everyday belongings, can set off alarms, trigger searches, and even get you flagged as suspicious. Today, let's uncover 10 such innocent items that could cause airport security to detain you, and more importantly, why they do. Because once you understand how airport rules really work, you'll be able to pack smarter, avoid unnecessary stress, and breeze through the line while everyone else fumbles with their belongings. Let's start with something that almost everyone has carried at least once: bottled water. It feels ridiculous, right? Just water. The stuff you drink every day, no different from the free cups they hand you on the plane. But if you show up at security with a sealed water bottle in your bag, you'll immediately be stopped. Why? Because liquids are one of the most controlled substances in air travel. Back in 2006, a foiled terror plot revealed that liquid explosives could be disguised in soda bottles and combined mid-flight to create a devastating bomb. That discovery completely changed airport security worldwide, leading to the now infamous 311 rule, where liquids must be under 100 milliliters and fit in a clear quart-sized bag. So when your innocent bottle of Evian gets confiscated, it's not because security hates hydration. It's because that small rule is directly tied to one of the biggest near tragedies in aviation history. And if you resist, argue, or try to sneak it through, you're not just losing your water. You're getting pulled aside for questioning. Next up, nail clippers and small grooming tools. Millions of travelers get tripped up by this. After all, who doesn't carry a clipper, a nail file, or tweezers in their toiletries? But from a security perspective, anything sharp can be considered a potential weapon. A metal file might look harmless when you're fixing a chipped nail, but in the wrong hands, it's an improvised blade. This is why security agents often confiscate them, and if they suspect intent, say if you're carrying multiple sharp objects, they may detain you to verify your purpose. The irony is that most airlines actually allow small clippers, but inconsistent enforcement across airports means it's often up to the agent's discretion. That inconsistency creates confusion, but in the high-stakes environment of airport security, safety always wins over convenience. Another surprisingly risky item is peanut butter. Yes, peanut butter. Many travelers, especially parents, pack it as a snack for long flights. But peanut butter is classified as a liquid under the 311 rule. It doesn't matter that it's spreadable or semi-solid. If it can be smeared, security treats it as a liquid or gel. And since jars of peanut butter usually exceed the 100 milliliter limit, they're not allowed through. Countless passengers have been detained or at least delayed because they argued over the peanut butter isn't a liquid point. And trust me, it never works. To airport staff, it's simple. Peanut butter in a jar is a liquid, and if you insist otherwise, you could end up in a back room explaining your snack choices. One of the more bizarre problem items is snow globes. These innocent souvenirs have caused more airport detentions than you'd believe. Why? Because snow globes are filled with liquid, often more than the allowed 100 milliliters, and because they can't be measured easily, they're considered a risk. Think about it. You can't unscrew the top to check the volume, and you can't pour the liquid out without destroying it. That uncertainty is enough to flag it as unsafe. Families returning from holiday trips with snow globes have been forced to either toss them or get detained while officers run extra tests. To avoid heartbreak, the only way to bring one home is to pack it in checked luggage. Another common culprit is sporting equipment. Something as innocent as a baseball bat, golf club, or even a yoga mat can raise eyebrows. Why? Because certain sporting gear doubles as blunt weapons. A baseball bat in your carry-on looks less like sports enthusiasm and more like a potential threat in the eyes of security. Even items like resistance bands can cause issues because they can be used to restrain someone. Many travelers forget this and walk straight into detention when an agent pulls their gear out for closer inspection. The rule of thumb is simple. If it can be swung, jabbed, or tied around something, don't carry it in your hand luggage. Then we have powders. Protein powders, baby formula, ground spices. These are everyday items, but in airport security, powders raise red flags. Why? Because fine powders can easily disguise dangerous substances, including explosives. That's why TSA agents frequently swab, test, and sometimes confiscate powder containers. If your bag is filled with multiple unmarked bags of protein powder, you're almost guaranteed to get detained while they run chemical tests. It doesn't matter that it's just your favorite vanilla shake mix. The optics matter and the risk is taken seriously. Herbal remedies and natural medicines also make the list. Travelers often carry herbal teas, roots, or alternative medicine powders, thinking nothing of it. But when these items show up on scanners, they can resemble narcotics or controlled substances. Even if they're legal, you may be detained while staff verify what they are. The problem intensifies when you travel internationally, because what's legal in one country might be banned in another. People have spent hours detained explaining their bags of dried herbs that look suspicious on scanners. Don't forget batteries, especially lithium-ion ones. From laptops to portable chargers, batteries are everywhere. But if you're carrying multiple power banks, or if one looks swollen or damaged, security can stop you instantly. Damaged lithium batteries have been known to cause fires mid-flight, making them one of the most scrutinized items in airports. Innocent or not, they can't take chances, and you may find yourself being questioned over a device you've carried dozens of times before. Even food can land you in trouble, especially meats, cheeses, and fruits. Many countries have strict agricultural laws to prevent pests, diseases, or contamination. Something as innocent as an apple in your bag can lead to hefty fines or detention at customs. The rules aren't about your personal safety, but about protecting ecosystems and food supplies. Still, countless travelers are caught unaware every day. And finally, one of the most overlooked items: toys. Certain toy guns, knives, or even realistic replicas can get you detained. Security officers don't have time to play guessing games about whether an item is real or fake. If it looks like a weapon, it's treated as one. Parents traveling with kids' toys often find themselves detained while the object is examined. The lesson here is simple: leave anything weapon-like at home, no matter how fake it looks to you. What all of this shows is that airport security doesn't care about intention. It cares about possibility. The system isn't designed to give the benefit of the doubt. It's designed to assume the worst-case scenario and prevent it before it happens. That's why innocent items like water bottles, snow globes, or peanut butter can derail your trip. The security staff can't read minds, but they can enforce rules that minimize risks across millions of travelers every day. And while it's easy to get frustrated, the reality is that these inconveniences are the price we pay for safer skies. Each rule has a backstory, often tied to real incidents where lives were nearly lost. What feels silly in the moment, like throwing away your jar of jam or explaining your protein shake, actually stems from lessons learned the hard way. Airport security is strict because the consequences of being lax are catastrophic. So the next time you pack your bag, think carefully about what's inside. Ask yourself, could this item look suspicious, sharp, liquid, or weapon-like? If the answer is yes, put it in checked luggage or leave it at home. Don't risk detention, delays, or worse, missing your flight over something as silly as peanut butter or a snow globe. Being a mindful traveler isn't just about being polite in line, it's about respecting the invisible web of rules that keeps billions of people safe every year. And remember, security officers aren't there to ruin your trip. They're there to make sure your plane takes off and lands safely. So don't take it personally when they confiscate your snacks or ask you to step aside. Instead, take it as a reminder that in a world where air travel is both a privilege and a risk, even the smallest item matters more than you think. One of the most fascinating aspects of airport security is how everyday mistakes by travelers often shape future policies. Take the case of baby formula. To most parents, carrying formula powder and bottles of milk is a non-negotiable necessity. Yet, countless parents have been detained or delayed at checkpoints because the quantities or packaging didn't comply with liquid restrictions. There have even been cases where security demanded parents taste the formula or milk to prove it wasn't harmful, sparking outrage but also underlining the seriousness with which authorities treat these items. It may feel invasive, but the logic is clear. When it comes to items ingested by infants, any contamination could be catastrophic, and authorities would rather deal with an angry parent than risk an unknown liquid slipping through. Even stranger, certain beauty products fall into the category of detention-worthy items. Something as common as a jar of coconut oil, shea butter, or even lip balm can raise suspicion if the quantity exceeds the limit or if it looks unusual on the X-ray machine. Many creams and gels have similar visual signatures to more dangerous substances when scanned. There have been incidents where passengers carrying homemade creams were detained for hours while the contents were chemically tested. This is another reminder that the airport doesn't care if something is natural or organic. The only thing that matters is whether it could pose a potential risk in the wrong context. A surprisingly tricky category is electronic devices. Most people know laptops must be removed from bags during screening, but few realize that carrying multiple devices can make security suspicious. For instance, a traveler with 3 or 4 laptops or several phones might be flagged for smuggling, espionage, or trafficking. There are documented cases of individuals being detained simply because they were transporting extra devices for relatives back home. While their intentions were innocent, the pattern looked suspicious. Airport security isn't just looking for bombs or weapons, they're also watching for smuggling operations, trafficking, and even cybercrime. That's why multiple hard drives, large amounts of memory cards, or unusual electronic setups can lead to lengthy questioning. Another interesting case involves certain cultural or religious items. Incense, ritual powders, or ceremonial knives have all been confiscated, with travelers detained while authorities determine their purpose. For example, small daggers used in traditional ceremonies might hold deep cultural significance, but in an airport they look like contraband weapons. Similarly, bundles of herbs used for spiritual cleansing may resemble narcotics on scanners. These incidents often highlight the clash between globalized travel and deeply personal traditions. While travelers may feel humiliated, security agents are trained to treat every unknown object as a possible threat first and a cultural artifact second. Then there are the foods people try to carry across borders. It's not just apples and bananas. Passengers have been detained for carrying raw honey, cured meats, or even homemade pickles. In some cases, agricultural rules are stricter than security ones. For instance, Australia and New Zealand have some of the toughest biosecurity laws in the world, and tourists have been fined thousands of dollars for failing to declare something as simple as a sausage roll. The reason is ecological. Invasive pests or plant diseases introduced by food could devastate entire farming industries. To customs agents, the traveler with an undeclared sandwich isn't just careless, they're a potential ecological threat, and that's why they're pulled aside and questioned. Another overlooked but common cause of detention is prescription medication. Travelers often forget to carry prescriptions or pack pills in unmarked bottles, leading to suspicion. To you, it's just blood pressure medicine, but to security, it could be a controlled substance or even counterfeit drugs. Internationally, rules vary dramatically. Some countries consider common medications like codeine illegal. Stories abound of passengers detained for hours because they failed to carry proper documentation for perfectly legal pills. It's a reminder that what's normal at home can be criminal abroad, and airports are the front line where those differences clash. Even clothing can trigger detentions. Steel-toed boots, heavy belts with large buckles, or even jewelry that resembles weapon components have caused travelers to be pulled aside. X-ray machines and body scanners flag dense or metallic items, and if the shape isn't immediately recognizable, agents are required to investigate. There was even a famous incident where a traveler was detained because their belt buckle resembled a small handgun when scanned. Though it was purely decorative, the shape alone was enough to cause a temporary lockdown. The lesson is simple. Fashion might be self-expression, but in an airport, practicality always wins. Musical instruments, too, often raise alarms. Guitars, violins, or even flutes have compartments that can hide items. While most musicians pass through without issue, some have been detained when instruments appeared unusually heavy or gave off strange images on scanners. Customs agents have long known that smugglers sometimes use instrument cases to transport contraband, so even legitimate musicians may find themselves questioned. There have even been cases where hollowed-out guitars or drums were used for smuggling narcotics, which is why modern airport staff don't take chances. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown useful, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more deep dives made simple. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. See you in the next one.